Hello again, and welcome back to Digital Dust, The Man Will Talk. This is the show that's in the spirit of post-show podcasts like The Talking Dead that explore the reactions, the ins, the outs, the behind the scenes of our favorite shows. The Man Will Talk will be unpacking each of the 4 episodes of the HBO Max documentary, The Man Will Burn. But we're not doing this from a studio lot. Nope, we're right here inside BurnerSphere, formerly known as BRCvr, an official virtual Burning Man experience, which is featured prominently in the HBO documentary. So it's very meta on meta on meta. So what better place to have this conversation? And if you haven't had the chance to join us in BurnerSphere, we want you to come and experience it for yourself. You can do it on a Mac, a PC, or in PCVR, or like we're doing here today on a Quest VR headset. But you do not need a VR headset to come and play in the digital dust. Just go to burnersphere.com to get started, and you can even type in a special code that will give you digital dust, and that code will get you a free month to unlock absolutely everything that's in here, and that code will be valid until the gates open at Black Rock City this year. So tonight we are breaking down episode 2, Welcome to the Shit Show. So with Burning Man having been canceled for the second year in a row due to pandemic concerns, the stage has been set for thousands of burners who decide to go it alone and have their Burning Man in the Black Rock Desert without the oversight of the Burning Man Project. Now, quick housekeeping note, we want to be very clear that we are not representing HBO, Burning Man Project, or any other affiliated entities involved in this production of the show. These opinions are ours and ours alone. Oh, and spoiler alert, we will be talking all about episode 2 of HBO Max's The Man Will Burn. So if you haven't seen that yet, go watch it, enjoy it. It's a good one, and come back and join us. It will make a lot more sense. So I am Justin Gunn. They call me Just Justin. I'm a producer here in BurnerSphere. And once again, I am back with my esteemed colleagues from BurnerSphere, co-founders Athena Demos and Doug Jacobson, and another producer here in BurnerSphere, Lindsay Handren, who is also one of the featured players in this documentary. So welcome everybody, welcome back. So so we're talking episode 2, Welcome to the Shit Show. What do we think?
That, by the way, is the name of the episode. If people haven't seen it, the episode is called Welcome to the Shit Show. Just want to make that clear.
This episode here of this podcast might also be. We'll see how it goes.
I think it's fair to say it is also a shit show in here most of the time. In a good way. The most endearing way possible.
No, it's glitchy. It's a glitch thing, you know.
Well, I want to be the first one here to say that I'm eating my words a little bit because I was very hypercritical of the first episode. I was kind of poo-pooing the open. I didn't feel it focused on the right magic of Burning Man. But I got to say, they really pulled it out with this second episode. I was very much on the edge of my seat. It was really well done. It was exciting. It was beautiful. It dove into much more of what makes Burning Man special and magical, which really made me feel better. And I really loved it. What did you guys think?
I agree. I liked with the arc and where it's going. You know, like the first one I felt was a little slow, and this just sort of took off. And especially with the go no go drama of 2021. And you know, and there was a fair amount of BRCvr in episode 2, and of course I got my little cameo.
Yay.
Yes, you
did. That's right.
And so did Doug's house.
My house got
and Doug's house got the cameo. Yes, Doug's house.
And my avatar had a cameo along with Lindsay in front of the Hug Deli. So I think it's fair to say all you have to do really to get glowing reviews is just put us in your doc. I mean, that's pretty much it. Right? Now suddenly we all love it.
We would
obviously
love your
zero
doc
bias
if you put us in
all.
it. That's what that is. Yes.
Now, I just want to point out that I am not in the doc, so I didn't like
Not
it very
yet.
much. No, I would say episode 2. Episode 2 was way better. I was riveted. I was captivated. I loved the intercutting between Renegade Burn and the past, another Renegade Burn kind of vibe. And I thought that worked really well. It was very clever.
It was fun to see all of our most me and Justin's avatars, I guess. It was fun to see me as an avatar for most of my screen time in that episode.
Your avatar is kind of iconic.
Memories.
It's kind of iconic with the pink beanie and all that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it
the pink
was,
beanie. There's a lot of
yeah,
lore behind that, but we'll get into it.
yeah, her alt space
I
avatar.
I have to say, like, I got a lot of feels when I watched that episode because of
Me
all
too.
that old BRCvr footage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I recognized everyone. It was really interesting. There's been a
So
lot
did
of talk
I.
about digital identity, and to
Yeah.
watch that old footage, and old, we say it's old. It's like,
5 years ago.
5 years
It's not
old,
that
but
old.
it's not that old. I mean, but it's it's older. The platform doesn't exist anymore that we were on, which is why we built BurnerSphere,
yeah,
so that
Yeah.
we can live on. God, rest alt space. And I
R.I.P.
just, it was so nice.
right,
It
Yeah,
right,
was
and
right,
you
super
right.
know, for
cool.
folks that didn't participate in BRCvr during those years during the pandemic when Burning Man couldn't happen, I mean, we literally had thousands of people that came and
Yeah.
did it. So in a way, it was our own form of a renegade burn. So what we see in this episode at the very beginning, with at the where we left off at the last episode was people heading out to the desert. So now we see what actually happens when about
Right.
thousands of people show up on the Black Rock Desert without the benefit of all the org's efforts to lay out the roads, to organize safety, and porta potties was the big one, hence the title of this episode. Welcome to the shit show.
Yes.
Right.
We start out with the folks that started their camp was called Plan B, that's how the way I read it, right
Yeah,
beforehand.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they said,
Yep.
well, we're just going to go out and do our camp out there. And boy, it just turned into a whole thing. And they suddenly found the parallels of early Burning Man now with this other group figuring out
Yeah.
what they have to do to make sure that that somebody doesn't die out there, that it's not
Right.
terrible, and that it doesn't ruin it for everybody else. So that was really interesting. It really, I was just going to say, it really, finally, so many burners who have been so critical of the org and, like Doug had said before, that they just want to take down the man. Well, now here's your chance. Let's see how it
Yeah.
goes.
I really loved the parallels in all of the 96 burn footage and how
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the parallels they made.
Yeah.
Obviously I'd never seen any of that. I haven't seen the archives or anything, so it was really cool to see all of that happened back in 96 and then the renegade burn.
Yeah, I mean, even an organized event can go sideways, and not having organization and then pulling it off, sort of, and then saying, "Hey, this is good forever." It's sort of like a rolling of the dice. Like you're either going to get Woodstock or you're going to get Altamont. Like you just don't know. And Woodstock, by the way, was completely trashed after Woodstock. Altamont was an organized event, and don't make Hell's Angels your security. It was obviously the lesson there. Or Woodstock '89, famously also. So there's a lot of events that did go south, even organized. But I'm gonna be on the side of organization, having spent my '90s at illegal desert raves and
Yeah.
all the
Me
stuff.
too.
I'm gonna speak up for. I see the people in the dock going, we don't need an org anymore, and I feel like they turned from leave no trace to leave no responsibility, because after the Renegade burn, it was a shit show out there. It was a disaster.
That was
Right.
great. I like that. Because
Yeah.
civic
Yes.
responsibility is really civic responsibility is a principle, and civic responsibility is very, very important. Not just that we are operating within the state, local, and federal laws, but that we have a responsibility to civil society. And
Mhm.
I think that is actually why Renegade Burn worked, is because they took that on, that we were responsible for civil society and everybody
I
was
see.
civil. I think in 1996, at least I wasn't there, but the footage that I saw, that was not civil society.
No.
That was like wild, wild west craziness.
Chaos.
It's not like people went out and did the drive-by shooting range during Renegade Burn. They didn't, because they knew that was dangerous, because they did it in '96 and realized that you could really get hurt doing that.
I think there's something to be said about behavior modeling and muscle memory from this community having done Burning Man for so many years, decades,
Yeah.
where everybody knows how to burn. They know how to behave. You know, it's a self-correcting system. So if somebody's new to Burning Man and they're acting a certain way, it's almost like an immune system, you know, that the other burners act like, you know, white blood cells, you know, that they come in and they're like, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? How you feeling? Maybe you're dehydrated.
Mhm.
They kind of take, you know,
I think
so
Yeah.
the burner
Take care of
community
each
kind of
other.
knows how to burn, and we've seen it done.
yeah,
We've
that's
done
true.
it together for so many years and even
Yeah,
decades that
we've
that
modeled it.
to remove that organizational layer, the muscle memory is there, and so people kind of just know how to be, and they have a
But how
respect
Yeah.
much of the people that
for
went
the
out there
process.
are those people? Like 50%? You're gonna give them 60%? Like how much is a random factor
Well,
just showing up there and
that's the
shitting on the
same
playa?
thing that happens at every burn. It's
I know,
roughly
it's true.
Yeah, the
50% of every
veterans and
burn
the
is
virgins.
Roughly, I mean, do we know
virgins.
the numbers? Is it, did they, has
No,
any,
no,
I
I'm
no, we
don't
don't know
asking,
know.
you
those.
know,
We
even if
don't
it
know
was
that. We did
10%
know they
rando, it
guesstimated that
was
there was like about 10 to 15,000 people that were out there for Renegade Burn, and
okay.
in BRCvr we had 15,000 people
Yeah.
participate in BRCvr. So it was sort of same.
Yep.
I
So
thought when we were doing BRCvr
Except
that they had more people
we
on
had
the
porta
desert.
potties.
Yeah, well, we had
we
bathrooms.
had
We had our own
Digital
bathrooms.
porta
bathrooms at
potty.
home. I had a refrigerator. I had air conditioning. You know,
Oh,
just
I want to jump ahead in the episode a little bit. So after we sort of see the Renegade Burn is underway, we go back in time. We go back to 1996, 97, that era when Burning Man was still in its formative stages out here on the Black Rock Desert. And I thought that was just a wonderful recap, one of the best ones I've ever seen of that era of Burning Man. You know, they had
Yeah,
access to all of Burning Man's archives, and anybody who's ever done media at Burning Man knows that you kind of sign your footage over, you know, or at least your finished product over to Burning Man, and you say, well, okay, you guys can use this in any way you see fit. And here is a project
yeah.
now that really took advantage of a lot of that content, and I thought they did a terrific job. You
I
know,
did see a number of my Journey to the Flames shots in these two episodes. I was like, oh, that's
there you go.
from Journey to
Did
the
you?
Flames.
Yeah,
Yay.
Yeah. It's in their
That
archive.
that was
Um,
that was
yeah,
my first real intro to Burning Man was your Journey to the
Journey
Flames.
to the Flames. Yeah.
the parallels I thought were very well orchestrated between what was happening with the Renegade Burn and then what could, you know, potentially could happen at the Renegade Burn. We saw back in 1996 what actually happened out here with the first death, with just the lack of organization, what can happen. But again, I think the difference is having these decades of all of the positive, you know, doing it right, that allowed the Renegade Burn to, you know, not be a complete and
Well,
total shit
well,
show.
let's talk about the sort of John Law
yeah.
situation
Yeah.
a
I
little
thought
bit.
that was really great having him
Yeah.
in there.
Now, ever since I've been going to, I know my first year was 98, so I came along 2 years after that. 97 was not on this playa, it was in a different
Mhm.
location.
It
And
was?
98 was back on the playa. Yeah, it was actually in
Yeah,
a, if you look at the footage, there's
A
shrubs
Wallapai.
everywhere. Yeah, it was, I don't remember where it was.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was around here, but
it
for
was
some
it
reason,
was
probably.
it was on the desert, but it was on the edge, like right at the mountain foothills. It wasn't out
Okay.
in open playa. It was like shoreline.
Yeah.
Right. And I had always heard, um, you know, of John Law, sort of like angry guy who doesn't like what Burning Man has become. I mean, sort of
The
the
Yeah,
lore, you
he
know. So it was really great to
antithesis.
see him to speak. He's been in other documentaries, but here he's had enough distance, I think, to to have more of a view, right? Because
it
he
was
was
a
always
really
the
beautiful window into that early time, and to see Larry and Harley and John Law and Michael and all of those characters in that era, really expressing their different sort of roles that would, you know, grow over time into more solidified positions. You know, like you saw the roots of where they are. You know, Harley was very concerned, John was very concerned, and Larry was just unabashedly gung ho. We're going to change the world. We're going to get 1 million people out here to the playa. And yeah, that juxtaposition I thought was really really interesting.
well, that was a crossroads, right? Would this event become a small event for people to for a few people to go out to the desert, or will it grow to something larger? And I think John was at that juncture saying, no, let's slow down. Let's not do this. And he got left in the dust. I suppose he left the organization at that time. I mean, he left in 97 or something ish.
I think so.
So,
Right after 1996, right after that burn.
Right. So he can't possibly still be upset.
People hold grudges. I don't know.
I don't know. It does say something about somebody's ability to hold a grudge if he's never come back. You know, it's like, really, after all these years, you won't even come back, huh? All right.
Yeah. So I think did he ever go back? Do we know? No. So, well, it was great to see him in the doc. It was great to hear his point of view. And frankly, he was right. I mean, the guy got decapitated. So you're not, it's worth pausing and stopping and asking some questions at that point, you know?
Yes.
And Larry
comes across as a very sympathetic position.
Yeah, he was definitely correct. So,
so moving forward in the episode, because the episode bounces back and forth a lot. So moving forward in the episode next, who do we see in all her beautiful IRL glory but Athena?
Yeah.
And Athena's saying something like, it's irresponsible to go out.
It was irresponsible to, I mean, people are going to go out there. People are going to go camping. The pandemic was kind of over, but not really.
There's a little bit of a finger wag there, Athena. It's irresponsible.
It's irresponsible.
But, having
question to you, Athena,
for organization.
In that year, that we had done the first year of BRCvr, and we had been in deep pandemic. I had friends die. I had friends' kids die. I had people that now have permanent disabilities due to contracting COVID, and there had been several super spreader events. By then, I hadn't been doing all the traveling that I do now. Like, I have to think back when I watched that. I was fairly newly back in the Los Angeles area when we shot that. So I spent the entire pandemic outside of the US. I was in Mexico in one little place, hunkered down. That was my pandemic experience. And then in June, July-ish, I actually got cast in a commercial, and I came back to the States to shoot it. And that was a hair-raising experience. Because I couldn't be masked because I was on camera. Everybody else was masked. So it was a little like, and then next thing I knew, I was in LA and trying to produce BRCvr and hearing about everyone going out to the desert. So part of me was a little bit like, oh, I want to do Renegade Burn. If it wasn't in the middle of the pandemic, I would have loved to have done Renegade Burn. I think that would have been amazing. But I couldn't do it and BRCvr at the same time. So my saying it's irresponsible was sort of me trying to convince myself. Like,
that's what I was getting at. There it is. That's what I was getting at. Okay, and then after we meet Athena, we then revisit with Lindsay, and Lindsay's back in her apartment. And this is really where BRCvr gets its
not back
its
in my apartment. I never left my apartment. Still in my apartment.
Not back.
The camera crew is back in her apartment.
She's still in there.
But this is the section of the episode that really gives quite a good profile of BRCvr. We see a lot of what we built in there and what the experience was like. And again, I had my little cameo, so that's great. I'm happy. I'm finally famous at Burning Man. Lindsay, what was the experience like of shooting in your apartment, specifically as it relates to what was shown in this episode? There was a lot of back and forth, and you were sort of talking to people, but clearly you were talking to people after they were. Was it at the same time? Was it a little after? Was there a little bit of cheating going on there? What was that like?
As far as I remember, it was simultaneous. Like, there's some shots where it's in the world filming, and then it cuts to me in my apartment, and like, you know, I'm like giving people hugs, but it's me in a headset and my little dog looking at me like, what the fuck is she doing? But so I'm pretty sure they cut it really well simultaneously. Especially there's a part where I'm like dancing in my headset, all goofy looking in my apartment alone.
It's really cute. It's really
it's
cute.
So I think that kind of like that really I don't know, it kind of shows like the power of being in VR, because when you're in there and you see like our avatar footage, there's so many people. It's like you're with your friends, you're giving them hugs on the virtual playa. And something we always said, the hugs may be virtual, but the feels are real. And it's hard to really explain that to somebody else unless they're in there with you. Like you put on the headset and you're literally like magically transformed to a whole nother place. Like I never felt like I'm just in my apartment alone. But then seeing like the back and forth cutting with the footage of us being in there together, like exploring things, like being on the virtual playa like we are in here, and seeing all this beautiful art. And then in physical reality, in our like meat suit world, I'm just there by myself and in my headset, you know.
Nobody.
But
One of the problems with headsets is nobody really looks cool wearing a headset.
Yes,
you know, we used to have team Zoom calls where we would put on our headset, but I'd always turn off my camera.
Oh yeah.
I do want to do one more plug for organization. I enjoy having porta potties at Burning Man. I enjoy having a medical tent where I know where it is. I enjoy being able to buy ice. I enjoy the structure of the city. I guess I'm getting old. I did this stuff.
I think we're just getting old, Doug.
I just don't. I think I'm just getting old. You know, Burning Man is dangerous enough.
Renegade ways.
Dangerous enough, but you know, but
Marion touches on that at the end of the episode. Like, she loved the Renegade. She talked about and how it felt like the good, you know, like the old days. But at the same time, it's not the same. You know, you don't have all of the cities. You don't have all of like the streets and the suburbs and the magic that is Black Rock City. Yeah.
They weren't allowed to build big art. They weren't allowed to burn anything. They weren't allowed. There was a lot of things that they couldn't do, and those are things that I go out there for.
Yeah.
It was kind of a sweet moment to see Marion out there and really clearly enjoying herself. And there was a quote, a soundbite with her where she said something like, "It's just so nice to not be in charge of this."
Yeah, just being there and enjoying it
without being
not
in
working,
charge,
not being worried about things, you know, what's going on, what's going wrong, something's happening, and just being in the moment and really enjoying it.
I want one more
the dock.
Burning Man. One more Burning Man department I want to shout out to. One of the more important ones, Resto. Like no one ever thinks of Resto. These guys do a grid and walk the playa and clean it up. I heard that after Renegade Burn, there was a famous shot of a porta potty filled with, you know, shit and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Someone had brought a porta potty.
And there's no trash fence. And the reason the trash fence is there is not just to keep people from sneaking in. It's literally to catch the trash that blows across the playa that you can't, you know, when the winds pick up and you got 50-mile-an-hour winds, stuff goes flying. So, yeah, it's, but yes,
and it
indeed.
Also,
playa restoration is a story.
Trash fence also plays a very important role of where Daft Punk plays.
Yeah, that's super important. You have to know where
without the trash fence,
to
there is no Daft Punk.
Yes, and one more shameless plug for BurnerSphere. If you come into BurnerSphere, I'm not saying that Daft Punk does play at the trash fence in here, but I'm not saying that they don't. That's all I can say. Moving on in the dock, we talked a little bit about, we bounce back again to the Renegade burn. We've just kind of discussed that. And then we get an introduction to the founders. And we learn who these people are, where they came from, what their motivation was, what their relationship was like to each other, and the different personalities. Really neat to see an exploration of the origin and a real who's who. You know, a lot of people wonder, well, who are these, you know, mythical people that sit on a board at Burning Man? Well, in many cases, although the board has grown, in many cases, the founders, they were literally the people that were making this happen from day one.
A lot of people online, it seems to me, they spend a lot of time obsessing on who's on the board, if the board is being paid, and the budget of Burning Man concept. Like I don't go to Coachella and scrutinize the budget of Coachella before I go to make sure that I'm agreeing with how they're spending their money. The question becomes, when you go out to Burning Man, are you having a fabulous time? Is this giving you good experience. And I just don't feel the need to pull up the budget and go, well, I'm going to make some notes on this and send it in. You know, I don't understand. I guess people take ownership of Burning Man in a
difference
way
is
that I'm
Burning
not
Man,
understanding.
for most people, the spirit is this is a community event. People do feel a sense of, if not ownership, of control, responsibility. It's you go to any other, like I don't want to say other because it's Burning Man is not like any music festival, but if you go to other big staged events, you just know somebody's doing it. You're going as a consumer. You're consuming, what they're producing. Whereas Burning Man is largely produced by the people who show up. Burning Man as an organization really is this container that lays out the grid, sets the rules, and says come in and build whatever you want as long as you stay within the grid and abide by the rules. Right. And so that's what's unique about Burning Man, and that's why people feel they're part of it and they should have a say. But that's the push and pull of top-down organization versus ground-up event, and the reality of it is somewhere in the middle.
Well, let's expand on this, because they really went into the 10 principles a little bit more in this episode and how they came about.
Yeah. It is the glue that holds us all together.
And it's created of sort of a religiousness of Burning Man that isn't necessarily, and so you'll have people come at you, bludgeoning you with their favorite, the burnier than thou, bludgeoning you with their favorite principle. You're a radical, so a radical. What about civic responsibility? So I see a lot of that online. Screaming that they're violating some principle, but each principle has a balance principle. People don't realize, radical self-reliance or civic responsibility, or communal effort rather. Those two balance each other. So when you take just one and start smashing, trying to go after people, you're ignoring the other. Which a good example of that is our camp wanted everyone to bring their own water, to be responsible for their own water, but we switched it over to communal effort, where we all pitched in for one big water. So it wasn't radical, self-reliance. It was communal effort for the whole water. So things like that.
And leaving no trace, because there's a lot less plastic.
Yeah.
Right. Another big piece of a big function that the organization serves that was detailed in this episode was their relationships with local government and law enforcement. And that is something that cannot be underestimated, because you can only get so big as a group of people doing a renegade burn. Eventually somebody's going to have to interface with law enforcement. Somebody's going to have those conversations. Law enforcement sometimes steps over out of bounds, and so there needs to be an organization that can approach them with some level of authority that says, hey, your guys are stepping out of bounds and they're causing problems now. And I've seen that happen firsthand and over different years. So the documentary details that because of all of the need for law enforcement, when in Burning Man's early years, they had that wonderful shot of it's so great that they had the shot of literally the I don't know, it was BLM, but I think it was sheriffs was sitting in the ticket booth and collecting all, because back then you didn't get your tickets online. You showed up and you bought a ticket. And they didn't sell out. That's how you got a Burning Man ticket. You just showed up and bought a ticket. And he's literally in the ticket booth taking all of the cash from all the people that came through until they reached $300,000, which was what they said their bill was to order
when I was
to enforce the peace.
When I was scrutinizing the budget of Burning Man because I was upset about it, I did realize how. I did realize.
Oh, you're one of those
large. I'm also complaining about me. So I realized what a huge amount the local sheriffs and such all take, and how much law enforcement and stuff are part of the budget, and it keeps going up. They just keep. And I feel like our ticket prices are going up. And I worry.
Well, and managing that relationship is a function that really only an organization can do. I remember several years ago there was a document that was leaked, which was like the rider of I don't know if it was the BLM or the sheriffs, but one law enforcement agency that said, because Burning Man builds their whole encampment for them, is my understanding. And it was like, like $1 million or something crazy. I'm pulling that number out of thin air, by the way. Don't quote me on that. But in the rider, they said they had to have a freezer, like stocked with ice cream bars, and they listed all of the different brands and flavors of ice cream bars that had. I mean, it was literally like it was like the no red M&Ms.
They're Van Halen fans, clearly.
Yeah, and it was so egregious that what do you do when law enforcement says, okay, you want to have your party? Well, you have to pay us $1 million and you have to stock our ice cream freezer. And that gets ridiculous. Really, only an organization like Burning Man that has those relationships could manage that, because let's face it, we're on public land and they have a say. So that's one of the big things that I think that people overlook, is just managing. I'm beating a dead horse here, but managing that relationship with law enforcement.
All right, let's move forth.
Money problems. Burning Man had money problems in the early days.
Well, actually, they do two things. They also talk about money problems today. Yeah. They have a couple lines where they're asking if they're purchasing. Again, when I went over the budget myself, I realized that they were spending. I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, they do. There was a lot of controversy on their budget coming out of COVID, and then there was money problems back in '96. So
they didn't get to have the event for 2 years. So 2020 and 2021, that really did create a money pinch.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is why Kimball is on the board.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
All right. Well, that's why we get Kimball.
It
so if any of you are having
money
issues, just invite Kimball into your house.
But he's going to decide what you have for dinner.
But you will get an amazing drone show.
And it's going to be a dangerous meal in some way.
You don't get to pick what it is.
The drone show will be epic.
You don't get to pick what it is.
The drone show will be
You might be allergic to it.
Okay, so as the episode continues to move on, we meet Robot Heart, and there's a very touching story about the recent loss of one of their founders, Geo, and it was really beautiful. Robot Heart, to me, I don't know those folks. Obviously everybody knows of Robot Heart. It's kind of like the big, for those that don't know, it's kind of like the big cool kids party at Burning Man. Like, it's very swanky. It's very cool. It's very chic. And the best music and the best DJs and all of that kind of thing. If that's your scene, Robot Heart is the place to be.
Diplo, baby.
Yeah, and so we get to meet those folks and get to learn a little bit about them, and they're awesome, badass humans who are doing it for the reasons that they want to give this incredible gift of the very best sound system on the planet out here in this amazing space, for the consumption and enjoyment of electronic music, and it attracts the best DJs. We have a little cameo from Diplo, right?
Yeah.
We do in BurnerSphere as well.
We do as well. That's right.
We do.
Diplo cameos. Diplo's everywhere.
I loved the story about Geo. So I had heard about it, and I know a lot of the Robot Heart crew. And so when I had heard of his passing, and it was so sudden and abrupt, like he was, fine one day and gone the next day, and it just shook the entire community. So I understood completely why they needed to go out there.
That's right. Yeah. So then we meet Sergey Brin and Larry Page. Sergey Brin, in particular, is a huge fan of Burning Man. And this, for those who are saying, "Well, Kimball Musk and Tech Bros and all of this," I guess it's a way to sort of say, well, they've kind of been out here doing this for a long time, and I guess we'll just kind of, I don't really know what the question is, but Tech Bros at Burning Man, good thing or bad thing? Go.
Well, I don't think all tech bros are created
inherently evil.
Some of the tech bros have turned into, one might say, monsters, and some of them have been pretty low key. But a lot of people have a disdain in our society today for billionaires telling us what to do now all over the place. Billionaires, and some of those billionaires happen to come to Burning Man in all very kinds of walks of life. So it sort of tainted the event in a way. I don't run into those. I don't run into the billionaires or the plug and play camps. I don't. We just don't see those guys. You might see their vehicle or whatever going around. They're not part of what I experience when I'm out here. So I'm not affected. When people have been to Burning Man and say, "Oh, isn't it sold out?" I'm like, I don't. It's the same. I don't really run into those people. So yeah. So on the topic of disdain for billionaires. There is a renegadeness to Burning Man. I happen to know, I just want to say, I happen to know that last year I was out on Playa and somebody had made a "fuck you, Elon" renegade piece, and I happen to know who that person was. You guys, I'm not telling any of you. And so, but the story is that Burning Man did not know about it, and it got just dropped there and caused a bunch of controversy. So I do feel that there's some kind of edginess still in Burning Man.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I
watch.
was in Japan last year. I took a year off from Burning Man. I was in Japan and I was watching it on the live feed. And they had put it in a spot where when the webcam was shooting the man, you couldn't frame it out. It was just kind of over the right shoulder of the man base right there. "Fuck you, Elon," in all its glory. But it was a pretty divisive piece. Some people loved
divisive.
it. Some people really hated it. But hey, that's art for you, right?
Is it art though? That's the question we're going to answer.
That's
today.
the question.
No,
I think if you're talking about it, it's art.
I think it did get a rise out of people. So in that sense, it was art. And people put free Wi-Fi on it and started modifying it in pro Elon or anti Elon ways, which is kind of amusing if you went out.
Put stickers on it.
And then there was people were telling other people that you could go out there to that there was a Starlink on it, and that you could go out there and get a Wi-Fi signal if you went all the way out to the "fuck you, Elon."
Yes. Well, that's that kind of shenanigans, those kind of subversive shenanigans, and action and reaction, and people responding and adapting, and to me, that's kind of the spirit of Burning Man that I love. That I think, Doug, we talk about this all the time. We started in the late 90s, and a lot of people are very, very serious about Burning Man. Like, Burning Man is like so important in their lives, and it's important in all of our lives very clearly, but to the point where they don't have fun with it and they're not silly about it, or maybe they take it a little too seriously sometimes.
They're overly
Burning Man
protective.
Burning Man back in the day had a whole ton of self-deprecating humor, comedy everywhere, did not take itself too seriously.
Snark was
Snark.
everywhere.
And not the kind of snark you get on Facebook, but actual funny snark.
Ironic
Daft Punk at the Trash Fence was one of the original snarks.
Now it's Jump the Snark.
The dark humor and the snark.
Burning Man has jumped the snark.
Burning Man had jumped the snark.
Okay, moving on. Moving on, we come to a very somber point in this documentary. I know that Athena and myself both had the occasion over the years to get to know Larry Harvey. And Larry suddenly had a stroke, and he was incapacitated for a period of time before he passed away. And we feel that in this documentary. We see that, we feel it, and it was very touching. What was your reaction to seeing that, Athena?
Just so everyone knows, he passed away in 2018, so it wasn't during COVID.
Right.
And it was very sudden. He was fine one day, and then the next day, a very close friend of him they were going to have breakfast together and found him on the floor of his kitchen, and nobody knew how long he'd been lying there. So he was living by himself. And the entire community hung on for dear life, like hung on to the ideas, is Larry going to make it, for I think 10 days. And then he finally left the mortal plane. One of the things in the documentary that they said that I didn't even know, and I feel like I know a lot of Burning Man lore, is that we had finally reached a 1 million person global community, and then he passed away. And that was what he wanted. That's what he even said he wanted in 1996. He's like, we're going to get 1 million people. Now, I think he meant 1 million people out here, which can never happen. But I say here referencing this playa,
The Black Rock
but this is
Desert,
digital,
yeah.
but Black Rock
Yeah.
City. But we made 1 million globally. We hit his
Yeah.
goal. And now I
Mhm.
think we're so much more than that. And you know, we have a, you know, hashtag thanks Larry. And every single time something like really cool happens, people go, thanks Larry, because he had the vision. He wanted this to get bigger and he wanted it to go global. He wanted this way of being, the way that we are, that we work together and that we're participatory and expressive, and that we're free to be ourselves and work together on a common project. He wanted to see all that just take over the globe, change the entire world. I still want to change the entire world with his vision. So I'm very grateful that we had a visionary like Larry.
Yeah.
I get why
Yeah.
John Law was scared, because it's been
Yeah.
scary pretty much every single year.
He always remained so idealistic, so hopeful. He had such faith in humanity. Larry, just speaking from my own interactions, I had interviewed him as a filmmaker numerous times, and so got to know him a little bit that way. And every year at Burning Man, I would always take time to go over to First Camp, which is where the Orgal camps, right, kind of at the end of the keyhole of Center Camp. And I would just find Larry, usually in the evening when everybody was out partying. Larry would just be hanging around the burn barrel, smoking a cigarette, back in those days. And he was always so generous with his time and his attention. And he would speak to anybody that came up to him and give them the respect that he would give anybody else, whether you were a billionaire or you were just some guy who was, showed up at Burning Man and wanted to say hi to Larry. I thought he was a really remarkable human, and his passing was really sad. But like John Law said, I think it was John Law in the documentary, said, Larry never took care of himself. And
No.
so that's what happens when you're, when you don't take care of yourself. So, but
I think that was Stuart.
It was Stuart. It was Stuart. Yeah. But it's like, the line from Blade Runner, the candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long.
Something important that you touched on just now. Larry was before my time. I didn't really even get introduced to Burning Man until 2020, but just the sense that he treated everybody the same. I still feel like there's this sense, like when you're on Playa, when you're in Black Rock City or at Burning Man, everybody's a human. We're all just people, like your default world identity is left in the default world. Like when we're out there, we're all there having fun, enjoying ourselves, living in this moment, living this life. And I think that's something that's kind of the whole, like, why are billionaires going and the tech bros and all this? It's when they're out there, they're just people, right? Like we're all,
you wouldn't know, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
Like,
we're all equal.
Yeah, like who knows? Like
everybody treats everybody else with the same level of respect.
You wouldn't know. Like you could be having the best time, like hop on an art car, be going around and like have the greatest conversation with somebody, and have no idea what they do when they're back at home. Like
exactly.
Okay, so back to the dock.
Yes.
I think you're back now, but back to the dock. Yeah. We then go out to a short distance away from where Burning Man is held in the Black Rock Desert, and we get introduced to Fly Ranch, which is a property that Burning Man has, at this point in the story, leveraged a lot of cash to purchase a lot of land to try to create something that has more permanence and more control outside of public lands, to create something that can potentially last in the future as a philosophical center. And we start to see that happen. And we also start to see some people saying, well, why are we doing this? And how much money is this costing? And is this side project, in essence, which is intended, as I saw it, as I interpret it, to really kind of keep Burning Man going forward. So it can't, a pandemic can't just wipe it out and then it's gone. But at what price does it come to build sort of a permanent version of Burning Man that can stand the test of time?
So the project that they're doing out there is part of the 2030 sustainability roadmap. Ways of which to look at not just the event, but how we live our lives in general in a more sustainable way. We just had our sustainability summit here in BurnerSphere. And they have a project called LAGGY, which is the Land Art Generator Initiative. And so some of what they showed in the documentary, just like a quick pan through of this sort of idea of what was going to get built out there, are these really amazing art projects that are a way of us living with the land harmoniously, renewable energies, different ways of thinking about housing and work spaces. So it's a fascinating project that deserves its own documentary.
All right.
So here we then go to out at that property at Fly Ranch in 2021, while the Renegade burn is happening out here on the playa. A few miles away at Fly Ranch, Burning Man builds a man and they burn it and they live stream it. And we carry that live stream in BRCvr along with our own fully realized three-dimensional digital man and burn. And this, folks, is where the hairs on both my real and virtual arms totally stood up. I got such the feels. It took me right back to it. And it was so awesome to see our man burning in VR and all of us. And they really gave us a wonderful moment to really let that happen. And I don't know if anybody who is like, what is the, some people out there are like, what is this cartoon nonsense? Probably, maybe.
Right.
But boy, for me, having been there, I was just like, oh my gosh, that is so cool to see.
It was so incredible. And we live streamed the actual man burn, well, the man burning from Fly Ranch. So everybody in VR got to watch that together. And then once that was done, we had our own like amazing virtual man and our virtual man burn that we all got to watch.
And I just remember getting a message from one of the tech guys at Microsoft telling us that, like, between everyone networking back and forth in the live stream and then our burn, that some wires melted in their server room.
Oh my god!
Like,
okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's how we do it.
That's
how we do it.
But it was a lot, and they were very happy that they could handle all of that.
Something else that I loved in the documentary, that we missed because we were in there doing that out at the Renegade burn, was that beautiful drone show.
Drone show.
That
was epic.
Like, that's how I learned about all of it. Because again, at this point, I had never even been to Black Rock City. All I knew was the virtual burn, but I still felt that sense of community and that sense of what Burning Man is and the principles and the vision and all of that just through VR. And there were people, again, all over the world experiencing that together simultaneously from wherever they were. And it was still that sense of community and of Burning Man and of the magic. That is what happens. Like, I met all of you guys, like you guys became my people, my community, when otherwise I would just be in my apartment alone by myself. But I didn't feel like that because I had the community and everybody around me. So that feeling.
So I think we can all agree that the way that they depicted the Renegade burn and BRCvr's burn was just beautiful. We all got the feels. It was lovely. Kind of felt like the end of an episode, but of course, in episodic docuseries, you have to leave on a cliffhanger. So we cut now back to Kimball Musk and his group. I didn't fully understand, like, had he assembled like some of the board members or a different group of people? I wasn't sure who all was whom in that, but it was clear what was happening. He convened people down in Baja, Mexico, and basically saying, Marion's got to go. I mean, that's what I took from that. Is that what was going on down there? Did I read that right?
It was a little confusing.
It sounded like to me.
I think from what I could tell, it wasn't like she wasn't invited or but there were people from the Burning Man who were there, and the conversation was, I don't know why they were having this meeting, but the conversation sort of
Marion wasn't
into,
there. But
no, she was invited.
Traveling. She was invited.
Yeah,
she was
traveling.
Clear that she was invited, so it wasn't a secret meeting, but to that extent. But it just devolved into a complaint fest, I guess, and then like it started heading towards coup, and then they left it on a line where Kimball says, I'll fund whatever, whatever you want to do. I don't know. It felt a little.
But I thought that he was saying that he was going to fund the drone show. Is really what he was talking.
No,
about.
At the end of the
of
the episode, he was going to fund whatever the next Burning. Like he was going to like do his own Burning Man and fund whatever they decided.
It really felt like a takeover plan. And Marion,
it was like,
I think she's walking down the escalator way in the airport, and she's like, "What you want to do it? Fucking go for it."
Bring it down. I think it was like because they had
go for it.
They had
Good luck.
The renegade burn, and it was successful in a sense that no one died, no one got hurt, like it was okay. So in that sense, he's thinking we don't fucking need the org, we don't need the man, like we'll just fucking do it ourselves.
Or that version of the org.
Yeah, without like remembering, realizing the actual Black Rock City is so much bigger than that and takes so much more organization and structure to pull off like the type of magic that happens in Black Rock City with 80,000 people. So
now let me ask you, because this was you were at the Tribeca screening,
right?
You watched both of these episodes, and sitting there is Marion and Kimball and these people, and on the screen is this coup discussion, and then the lights come up and you guys go get cocktails,
right?
Yeah. Then there's an after party. How did the date end, as Chuck Woolery used to say?
Yeah, that's very strange. I was just thinking like, wow, what a awkward way to end the Tribeca Film Festival, because they never showed them
on that note.
Yeah,
on that
cliffhanger, right?
Yeah, that is interesting, huh? And speaking of that, I have seen online quite a few people that there were photographers there. Everybody's taking pictures, like it's a fucking event, and there's obviously photos of Marion and Kimball together on the red carpet at the after party. And that seemed to, there's some people on the internet that would post those photos and be like, oh, look at that, see, they're all like happy and whatever. But I mean, at that point in time, that was 2021. So again, time
been years.
A lot's happened since then.
It's been years. A lot has happened.
Let us not.
And you still have to, like, you can still be civil and work with somebody, and the level of like, okay, being on the board,
look at us
doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, completely civil with
Doug
each
hates
other.
all of us, but he still puts on, positive
He's
airs.
still here, even though
he's standing next to you.
He still tolerates,
Elmer still tolerates you guys.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 2. We're set up for episode 3, where it surely seems
none
like
of us have seen it. I've not even seen episode 3. I'm very excited to watch episode 3 because I think
I might have a cameo in episode 3.
You might, yeah.
Oh,
you might.
Who knows? You all might. You all probably.
We don't know what happens. We don't know what happens at all in episode 3. Like,
I've never seen
more
it.
2021 Renegade Burn stuff? Are we going to end up on Playa? Are we finally going to Burning Man?
Are we finally? Do I ever make it to Playa?
Okay.
You know what's actually really kind of funny for me, anyway. I've gotten some since the first 2 episodes have aired. I've gotten DMs on Instagram from like people who have watched it, random people asking if I ever made it to Playa. And that was also something at the after party. A lot of people were like, "Oh my God, did you ever make it? Are you like trapped in VR forever? Did you finally go?" I'm like, tune in and find out.
That you are trapped.
I happen to know she does make it to Playa. She does make it to Playa.
Spoiler,
we were there.
Spoiler.
I saw her there. I was there with her.
Spoiler.
But it's going to be
make
fun.
It to Playa.
As entertaining as it's been watching you dance in your living room, it's going to be really fun to see you out on Playa. I really look forward to that. It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's do our roundtable quick take on how we felt about episode 2. I'll go first. I like I said, I think they really turned the series around. I'm going to give this a solid A. I thought it was engaging. I thought it was informative. I thought it was touching. It gave me the feels. Solid A. Athena?
I loved it. I thought it really got me going. I liked the character development. I liked where we were going. There was just the right amount of drama and excitement. and I'm super on edge. In fact, I'm right now on the very edge of my seat, excited about episode 3, which means episode 2 was a solid A+ for me.
Yeah.
Heck, A+. Wow. Good.
A+. No, it was an A+ for me.
Well, I would give it a solid A. I would not give it an A+ because I'm not in it, and that is a criteria for me.
That's my story too, Doug. It's not an A+ because you weren't in it. I'm there with you.
Yeah. Thank you for solidarity.
You're there in spirit.
But all of you guys are in it. All right. What about you, Lindsay?
I'll go. I'm gonna go A+. Not because I wasn't, because my dog was in it again. So
Binks,
obviously, and Athena and Justin. Doug's living room was there. But aside from that, I thought it was amazing. I loved the backstory. I love learning the history, because again, I wasn't around back then. I didn't know shit about it until 2020. So learning all of the history and seeing how the burn has progressed and how things have taken shape since then was awesome. And also, like we talked about, just the juxtaposition of the renegade, the VR, Fly Ranch, how everything sort of like comes together, and regardless of where you were in the world at the time, you still everybody still had that sense of community and being together, and very going back to Larry's original vision of having family and community, and it was there, even though Black Rock City physically was
they've got us. We're hooked.
A+.
We hope you guys are enjoying this docuseries as well, as much as we are. Clearly lots to talk about, and we hope you're enjoying our podcast series, Digital Dust, The Man Will Talk. We will be back. We still have 2. Do I have fingers? Yes, 2 more episodes to go.
Those are just
we will be watching with bated breath. So please come back and find us again after episode 3 airs. We will have another review, and maybe even some more esteemed guests may show us. You never know who might pop by the BurnerSphere newsroom. Come on in, check us out. Use the code Digital Dust for a whole month of free unlocked access to the literally hundreds of worlds we have now, right, Doug? Pretty much hundreds of worlds.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. It is as
and
vast
videos. It's not just worlds, but it's a whole bunch of documentary, because we also went to Burning Man and filmed. So there's tons and tons and tons of documentary episodes inside BurnerSphere.
That's right. So we hope you'll come back and join us. It's fun hanging out with you, and we will see you on the next episode.
Mwah.
Bye, guys.
Mwah.
Mwah. Doug, you didn't kiss.
Cut.
You're not kissing, Doug?
He's a German.